Welcome back, everybody, to the Meeple Marathon and another digital edition of a great board game. Here we are taking a look at One Deck Dungeon, and you can see that I've chosen to fight the Yeti, and I'm just taking a quick look at what it's going to take to defeat the Yeti in the end. So I know that I definitely need to build up my yellow dice pool, and I'm going to go with the rogue because that's who I've been building up my character as. And you can see here that I've kind of been building her up in the combat and dungeon section, and so I'm just going to choose combat and go ahead and start the game. Now, for anybody who's not familiar with One Deck Dungeon, it's essentially a kind of a dice pool builder. Every round you're basically rolling dice and you're trying to fit them into this puzzle that is an encounter, whether it's a combat encounter with a ghost or goblin or something like that, similar to this one, or an obstacle encounter. That the only difference between the two is that obstacle encounters you can only roll one color of dice. So what you see me using just now was my heroic action, and that is called Daring Gamble. I'm allowed to roll one or two black dice, which are wild, and as long as I don't roll a 1, I always get to keep the results. But if I happen to roll a 1, I'm actually going to take a point of damage, and 3 time are going to pass. So you can see here that I have essentially rolled out my dice. I'm trying to use some of my skills, which I'll talk more about here in a little bit, but I'm attempting to fill in all of these boxes up next to the Wraith. And I have to fill the ones with the green shields on them first. That's just the iconography for the green shields, means that you have to cover those up first. They are kind of like armor that you have to get past before you can do any other type of damage to a Wraith. Now, one thing with One Deck Dungeon is that as long as you enter into an encounter with any of the encounters, you will come out successful. But the only difference is how much damage are you going to take. And so you can see here that I did the best I could. I ended the encounter and I took some time. Some additional time came off, and I also took 1 point of damage. For my reward, I was given the option of an item, which I chose as another yellow dice to add to my pool. I could have chosen a skill, or I could have chosen a potion to add to my collection. Here you can see a obstacle encounter that is different from a combat encounter, and I chose to go with the easier of the two. So I had a 2 time penalty, and I'm going to go ahead and use my heroic action because all I can do is roll blue dice for the rune puzzle. Luckily I rolled pretty well on the black dice, and I can use them as wilds. And here you see that I didn't really like the skill or the item, so I just went ahead and took everything as experience. And as you gain experience, you can earn more potions. You can also earn additional black dice to your pool. Here you can see that I opened up a door and found an ice elemental who is pretty brutal at this stage in the game, and so I just fled. I did not want to encounter him. It wasn't worth it to me, and so I just ducked on out of there. Here I have decided, why not? I'm gonna, use both my heroic actions. I'm gonna gamble against the fire elemental. I got really lucky there, and I get to roll out all my dice. Now I only need pink and blue dice here, and one of my skills, you can see I'm allowed to re-roll any 1s and 2s that are yellows. I've also gained a skill that gives me an automatic 3 black dice. And so now I just need to figure out how best I can fill in all of these boxes with dice and take the least amount of hits possible. Any of the boxes that are just a single die's width and height can only be filled by a single die. So you need to either hit that number inside the box exactly or higher. But the bigger boxes, like the 11 there, can be filled with multiple dice. Obviously there is no 11-sided dice in the game, they're all d6s. So you can stack in as many dice as you'd like, as long as they meet the color requirements to get to 11. So you can see here that I've thrown in my 2 black 5s, and what I'm doing right now is turning 2 dice into 1 wild die. And how you do that is that you can put any 2 dice into that little area off to the side, and it's going to give you a black die equal to the lowest die value that you entered. So you could put a 6 and a 1, and you're only going to get a 1 back. But if you put 2 6s in, you'll get a 6 black back. So that's pretty much how you manipulate the dice. The skills that you have that are over there on the left side underneath your character portrait, you can use once per encounter. There are a few encounters that penalize you for using your skills, but otherwise they are free to use every time, and most of the time it's like, why not? But you can also see that both Fortitude and Planning have the little crossed sword symbol next to them. That means they can only be used in combat encounters and cannot be used in obstacle encounters like I just did. So you need to make sure you keep up with the icons there. You can see under my potions there, the healing potion can be used in both combat encounter and an obstacle encounter. There is one last symbol that you would want to pay attention to, and that's under my stealth skill. You can see it looks like a skull with an X through it. That means it cannot be used in the boss section. Stealth wouldn't matter anyways in the boss section, but there are some skills that are not going to do you any good against the boss, or you can't use them against the boss, so you'll want to keep an eye out for that. Essentially, you're going to continue working through your deck, and as the name suggests, essentially all you have is a dice pool, a bunch of dice, and a deck. And the deck not only represents all of your encounters, but then it represents the time you have to spend on each level of the dungeon. And then they are multi-use cards once you have entered the encounter and then completed the encounter. If you're playing the actual game, all of these items, skills, and XP are represented on various sides, the left, right, and bottom side of the card. And you can kind of see it on those cards in that view. And what you'll be doing in the actual game is just kind of sliding these cards depending on which reward or loot, I guess it says here, you have chosen to keep up with whether you've increased your dice pool, have you increased your skills, and so this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy the digital version of the game over the actual version. You can see here this is just an absolutely awful roll on my part, but so this whole the multi-use cards are brilliant. And it's really not that bad. It's not that super fiddly, but obviously the digital version of the game, you don't have to worry about sliding the cards underneath your character and messing up your nice neat piles and things like that. So you can see there that even though I did miserably on that obstacle encounter, took a big hit. I used a potion just now to heal up 3 hearts, but I was still successful. I still gained the loot, no matter how poorly I did. And one of the other reasons that I really enjoy the digital version of this game is you can see that there are certain skills that are going to give you dice. For example, the planning skill is going to give you a black 3 anytime you're in a combat action. Now, in the game, you have this huge bag of dice, and you pull out, and you have your dice pool off to the side. Well, as you add dice into your dice pool per encounter based on your skills, you roll them out, you put them on the encounter card, and then at the end you have to always go back and separate what is your dice pool that you always have access to and the dice that you added based upon skills or anything else that may have happened. And this can get a little fiddly. Normally, as you're playing along, you are real quick about, oh, I've got 4 pink dice and 3 yellow dice and 3 blue dice, and we're good to go. But the computer, obviously, the app, takes care of all that for you. I really like the dice rolling animation of the app. It's a really fun way to do it. and it just looks nice, kind of rolling on top of everything, and then they smush in and get all nice and neat for you. So don't get me wrong in any means that the actual game is fiddly. I love the actual game. There is something very satisfying about rolling out the dice. They are like little miniature dice. They're not full-size dice. But when you have, in this instance right now, if I was playing the actual game, I would be rolling 10 dice. Actually, no, I'd be rolling 11 dice per turn with just my initial roll. And there's something very satisfying about having 11 dice in your hands and just rolling them all out into. This is definitely a game you want to have some sort of dice tray, or roll them into the box lid or something like that. But it is very satisfying to play the physical version of this game. I just find that it's also very easy to pick up and play the digital version. The digital version is a seamless representation of the actual game, and you don't miss anything. The cards are all the same. Nothing changes. It simply just takes away those few fiddly things that you would normally have to do in playing the physical game. One last thing that is, like I said, it's a very minor fiddly, and this is more of the keeping up with the rules thing, is the passage of time. Every time you explore a new floor, and that means you go from having those what look like torch icons in the game here, and then all of a sudden doors appear. That's exploring. That takes 2 time. Every time you open a door, that takes 2 time. So what you're going to be doing in the physical game is laying out 4 cards in front of you, and then you're going to be burning through your one deck, as the name suggests, of time. And when you get to the bottom of that deck, you always have seated a card face up that looks like the set of stairs, and that signifies you need to move on to the second floor. After you've gone through 3 floors, then you reach the boss. So just being able to remember that, oh, I explored, here's 2 time. Oh, I opened a door, here's 2 time. And you're just burning cards off the top of the deck. The app does that for you automatically. So it holds you honest, it keeps you honest. But it also just makes that minor bookkeeping element completely user friendly. So that's pretty much it as far as the game is concerned. You can see that I just will continue to go down through the dungeon, trying to increase my dice pool as much as possible. Also gain skills that I think will come in handy. Remember, I peeked at the Yeti's card ahead of time, so I know that I really want to have a good yellow dice pool. Also, when I reach the next XP level, I'll be given another black die, a second black die to always roll, plus my daring gamble. You can also see, though, if you look at the symbols next to the words daring gamble, I can use that during a combat encounter, an obstacle encounter, but I cannot use the daring gamble versus the boss. So just something to keep in mind here as I'm making my choices. And you can see that there I am ensuring that I have a nice good yellow dice pool. Also, you can see at the top there the Yeti's Cavern, where the floors that you on, and now you can see the word Yeti's Cavern, and there's 2 blue boxes and a yellow box, a 3, 4, and a 5 below it. Those have to do with the boss that you are fighting. So depending on the floor you are on, you're going to have an increased additional challenges that will be with every encounter or every obstacle. So you'll see that 3, 4, and a 5 are going to appear next to every single combat encounter on this floor because of the Yeti's Cavern. So that's a way that the game kind of changes things up. So you'll always fight skeletons, you'll always fight wraiths. These bad guys and obstacles are always going to appear in all of the boss's dungeons, but the bosses, the various floors of the dungeon, increase the difficulty, and you have to fill those boxes just like any other. But you can also peek at that side of the card before you start the game, so you kind of know what's coming, and again, you can prep your dice pool appropriately. One other point to note, just if anybody is interested in playing this game, if you use your healing potion in the middle of a encounter, you can see it's only going to heal up 2 hearts. Whereas if you heal outside of an encounter, when you just have some closed or open doors in front of you, you actually get to heal up 3 hearts. And again, every time you level up, you gain a new potion. And here you can see as the loot, instead of a skill, you could gain a potion, but I tend to like skills more than potions, just personally because I can use them every single encounter. If you purchase a new potion, that means you're not going to be able to use your healing potion one time if you happen to use it. So again, I feel like this is a really great game to have in your collection, period, whether it's the iOS version or digital version or it's the physical version. The physical version is a small box game, so it works really well to carry around places as long as you have a dice tray of some sort to contain the dice, because you are rolling a lot of dice. It does not take up a lot of space on the table. It's very travel friendly, and it's just a great puzzle element. There is a lot of variance in, it's rolling dice, so there are times where you roll nothing but 1s and 2s and you get screwed. But if you play the campaign option of the game, which just means you're keeping track of rewards for your character and unlocking new skills that you start the game with, then it starts making it more easy. But I feel like there is a lot of variety with the bosses. Even though you see the same enemies and obstacles each time, the bosses offer a lot of variety in the game, and the heroes offer a lot of variety. Playing through each of the bosses, I think I've used each hero at least once for like the easiest and medium level bosses, just to see what they're like, playing kind of one-off scenarios. And then I really like the rogue, so I started a campaign with her. So that is it. I am going to let you simply watch the rest of this if you choose, so you can see how a boss battle plays out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more digital content like this, I'm going to be trying to post a digital video at least once a week right now, due to the kind of climate that we are in right now. I feel like iOS games can come in very handy with people. So once again, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the video and have a great day. Hey everybody, if you stuck around this long, I really appreciate it. I just wanted to give a basic talk through of the differences between a boss battle and a regular battle. Essentially with a boss battle, you can see that there is a lot of damage that can be taken. If I didn't hit any of those boxes, I would essentially be wiped out in one turn. But to do damage to the Yeti, I need to cover up the boxes with the skull in them. So the 5 and the 6 yellow and the 4 yellow, also the 24. You might note that the 24 yellow also has the green shield, so I'm going to have to fill that one up first. Obviously, if you've been watching along, you can see that I built up a really nice solid yellow dice pool, and you can also see that the iOS app does not allow me to fill in any boxes until I have filled up that green shield 24. That's something slightly different from, if you're playing the actual game, you can cover up any boxes you want. You just need to make sure you cover up the green box at the end. But essentially here I am going to keep using my skills to make sure I can get to 24, and then I will cover up as many boxes as possible, hoping to fill as many of those skull boxes, the 4, 5, and 6 yellows, as much as possible. But it comes with a cost. If I were to leave those empty, I would actually take less damage. Those are only 1 heart piece, whereas the other ones are 2 hearts. But I got a really good roll, first roll here, and was able to cover all the boxes up on my first turn, so I didn't take any damage. The Yeti took 4 out of 6 damage, and so things are going pretty well for me here. And that's pretty much it. You basically just keep going round after round against the boss until one of you perishes. Either you take your maximum damage, which for me, I got some really good items, and my total damage is 10 and his is 6. And so we're looking at, I've taken 3, he's taken 4, so things again are looking pretty good for me. Once again, thanks for watching the video. Enjoy the rest of it here, as hopefully I can be successful against the Yeti with this great head start. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.